from the Galilee in Israel on 30th of December. It's just about 9 in the morning. I'm going to go into my live streams and make sure everything's working. I'm not sure it is, but let's find out. It's not yet working. I don't understand what happened. Maybe it's working, I don't know. There we go. I got it working. Okay. Maybe it's working, I don't know. Okay, I got it going. I had some trouble this morning. I don't know what it was. All right. Let me get a couple of quick posts up while people come in. Almost there, guys. If I talk while I type, I'll get typos. Just check my work. That's good. Okay. Everything's good. Being a Bible-believing site, we'll do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. So what the Lord has me doing today is going through daughter of Babylon, trying to, or actually being able to pinpoint some things down for you to give you an idea where we're at with it. And you should find it rather exciting and encouraging, I suppose, because we're getting close, but of course we're looking at a doom and gloom scenario, which will be to our benefit. But it's not really doom and gloom because all things work for good to those that love the Lord. All right. In terms of current events, Gaza's, I'll go very rapidly, Gaza's trying to shoot missiles again and they're not getting anywhere with it. I mean, maybe we get a takedown here and there. They can't get anything going. They're basically busted up and defunct. There was an attack on a hospital that Hamas was occupying and that kind of thing. Israel was attacking some more weapons they found in Damascus yesterday. We're attacking more weapons in Lebanon as well. We're not taking any missiles or drones or anything from Lebanon. Iran's doing nothing. Iraq is just trying to hold their border with Syria. And in Syria, the HTS people are absolutely going brutal crazy, nuts. The Alawites are, that's a sect of Islam that Bashar Assad was a follower of, you could say. I don't believe he's anything but a Satan bot and make him believe he was following Islam, but that's what, so now they're picking on all the Alawites, shooting them, beating them. I mean, it's brutal over there. And it's, sect versus sect. Turkey's involved, his forces back. I think he has his own troops now, and they're attacking the SDF, which is backed by America, and they're backing the Kurds, attacking the Kurds, which is backed by America. American bases are not getting hit. The new government is basically Al Qaeda or ISIS with a new paint job, and they're watching their P's and Q's so as to not get busted up and thrown out. They're rather vulnerable right now. So they're unifying the different sects that went into Syria, which was about 10, and they numbered about 70,000. That was it. Assad's army was 300,000. Now, some of these Alawites, this is kind of interesting, and some might think it's funny. It's not all that funny. They ran away from Syria, being Alawites, and went into Lebanon. And the Sunnis in Lebanon ran them back into Syria. They don't want them there because Syria was such a brutal, harsh dictator. It goes back to the Bashar Assad's father, who was just brutal, and he inherited the ways. Russia and being able to keep their two bases, the Mediterranean Navy base and the air base near it, we're not getting any indications that they're keeping it. The terrorists, the HTS, are right outside the base, and it's over for that. I think there could be a surprise if Putin says, "Oh, we'll give you weapons, let us have the base." They might take the weapons, but that would get America and Israel mad at them, and they don't want that. So I don't think anything is going to happen with their base. It's finished. There's no great advantage for the HTS, the people that took over Syria, to destroy Russia's base when they could occupy it, So that's my thoughts as to the direction they're going on that, okay? Russia and Ukraine are continuing to knock each other's lights out. There's talk that Russia's going to invade the Baltic states, which would be Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Norway, and Finland, the ones that are in question. And Russia has a large amount of forces and weapons and anti-missile weapons and all sorts of stuff in Kaliningrad and Belarus, which is close to Ukraine. So he could, at the same time, hits the Baltic states, he could also hit Ukraine hard. He's been trying to hit him hard already. This whole rumor of Russia's a sleeping bear, and you wake it up and watch out, and I'm thinking Russia has a big mouth like Iran, and they can't deliver that much. But it remains to be seen. Okay. Biden is just dumping weapons and money for weapons into Ukraine like there's no tomorrow. All right. Trump is not speaking to the Congress stopping him from being inaugurated, which doesn't mean a lot, but I don't see anything going on where it's getting legs, you know. January 3rd, I think it's the new Congress. January 6th, they vote on recognizing the Electoral College vote, which officially would put Trump in. Then he gets sworn in on the 20th, and Biden is still there until then. China and North Korea are playing very low profile, no threats or provoking incidents with missile tests or anything like that, no bad mouthing. I'm not picking up a lot on Pakistan and Afghanistan. It seems it's a border skirmish shooting across the border. There's no invasion from one side into the other at this point. It may not be. I don't know. Azerbaijan and Russia, I believe, had a falling out over that airplane takedown Russia did. And I haven't seen that relationship get repaired. All right, so that's basically it. The Houthis still try to shoot at us with drones or missiles, and it doesn't work. The takedowns, they don't. Usually they're taken down before they get into Israel airspace or over Israel land, I guess I should say. Let me see if anything happened real quick. I've been up early. I managed to get outside for an hour or so before the rain. It still hasn't come. I got the window open and I hope I hear it if it comes down, and then I gotta bring the little dogs home. I'm not gonna leave them in the rain. Let me see if anything happened in the media before we move on to the Bible. I'm not getting any new updates. Things are in the news realm. Things are pretty quiet. Nothing fantastic going on. The Houthis are threatening Saudi Arabia again. See, they're complete psychotics, like serial killers. And they can attack the Saudi's largest oil refinery, Aramco. They did it twice in the last year and a half or so with missiles, but they were minor attacks. They could launch a large attack and probably score some hits and knock the Aramco facility down. And if they hit it with, 4 or 5 good-sized missiles, they could maybe knock it down for 1 or 2 months, which is rather serious. It would spike oil prices, but not that much, probably $10, $20 a barrel, if anything, and it wouldn't be massive. They're basically telling Saudi not to cooperate with the United States or Israel. And this is basically Iran telling Saudi Arabia not to cooperate with America or Israel. And the Houthis are talking about an escalation. Well, they're delusional nutbags. What are they going to do? America has hundreds of aircraft in the region, and they go in whenever they want and bomb the Houthis. And the Houthis are nuts. In their minds, shooting a missile or drone at Israel that gets taken down to them is a victory because they sent 1 million or 2 million people into the bomb shelters. But when we blow their ports up, their refineries, their power stations, you understand the lunacy? We saw this with Hamas, and we saw this with Hezbollah, and now we're seeing it again. I think Mount Hermon is taking snow, which is common for Mount Hermon to take snow. So let me check one other place and see if anything popped up in it, because it's just quiet. There's just not much going on. Netanyahu, there was the cover story was he had a prostate removed. I have a feeling it was something to do with the pacemaker in his heart, but I'm not sure. I'm rather sure it wasn't his prostate. So many people know why. And they were going to keep him in the hospital for a few days, so it maybe wasn't the pacemaker. Maybe they did something more serious. I don't know what happened. But this is, again, I believe he knew this was coming. They were probably trying to control whatever they were saying, a urinary infection, urinary tract or something. They were trying to control it with probably drugs, and then they said, no, there's something they got to operate to get the pressure off. So I don't buy it, but he seems to be doing okay, and I get the impression he'll probably be in till Wednesday or Thursday, and then he'll probably get out, and we don't know, what condition he might be. He might be where he could work 2 hours and then rest for 3 or 4 hours. So when I think he's got his, let's call them sea legs back, he'll probably proceed with attacking Iran. As we get closer to Trump taking office, Netanyahu is likely going to be more inclined to call Trump on the phone and coordinate with him and not worry too much about Biden. Because, Biden's coming up to he's got 3 weeks left, and I think when it comes to the area where Biden's got about 2 weeks left, Netanyahu's not going to pay a lot of attention to him. We have our corridor open in Syria, so we've knocked 600 or 700, roughly 700 kilometers off the trip for our fighter jets to go attack Iran. They got a wide open corridor in Syria where there's nothing that's going to shoot at the planes. The concern is not so much F-15, F-16, F-35, it's the refueling tankers. I believe the trip is about 3,000 kilometers round trip to Iran and back, something like that, but then you need to allow for flying around Iran at high speed. So the plan is the refueling tankers will be positioned in Syria, the eastern part, farthest away, furthest away from Israel. The jets will fly there, meet the refueling tankers, top off, traverse over Iraq airspace, which is not going to be that challenging for the fighter jets at all, enter Iran, fly all over the place in Iran, and bomb whatever we're going to bomb, which, believe me, if we bomb the so-called nuke sites, it's not going to affect anything with fighting Iran. I think it's not anything worth doing. If we attack their ports and their piers and their refineries and their oil and natural gas pipelines, well, now Iran has to belly up to the bar with their economic people and figure out what the heck they're going to do. How are they going to pay the Houthis, for instance? How are they going to pay Hezbollah and Hamas and their people in Iraq, the militias backed by Iran? How are they going to come up with the money? They're going to have trouble getting bread on the table for their people. Now, also hitting military targets would be great, military airports. But real strikes where you blow the control tower up, not where the windows are blown out, where the control tower is 40, 50 feet high, now it's 32 inches high. I mean, devastate the thing. So there is no control tower. So all the lines are gone. The power to the thing is gone. The computers are gone. The tower is gone. It's completely gone. That is, and we have the technical capability, that is knocking out an airport. For real. Okay? Because that's going to take, what, a month or 2 or 3 to get it up again. And also, the radar goes. Now, the airports don't normally have very long-range radar. They might go out a few hundred miles. That's about it. 200-300 miles probably is plenty. And not being a highly advanced country, Iran may only go out 200 miles or so. Then they're not taking off and landing. So commercial flights, cargo flights, stuff like that. How's Russia going to fly weapons in? There's no airport. You got the idea? Okay. Any weapons storage facilities we know about, we could hit. Critical warehouses and storage facilities for the military would be sort of a back burner. It's their missile launching sites and radars associated with the missiles, if there's anything left of them, which I don't know if there are. There probably aren't. We may have a few left. That goes, and then what Israel intends to do is go after targeted strikes, which I'm going to show you is this type of thing hitting the leaders is in the daughter of Babylon prophecies in Jeremiah 50:51. I'll show it to you today. They're going to hit the Parliament building, the intelligence headquarters, the military headquarters, where the Khomeini sits running the country, and things like that to make it look like the country's falling apart. And this will cause the rebels to rise up, probably. I don't think they'll accomplish an overthrow of Iran, because there's nothing in the scriptures that indicates they're going to be healed and it's going to be an okay place anymore. It's going to be a devastation, and everybody's going to leave it. It's in Jeremiah 49. It's called Elam, E-L-A-M, in the old days. So the rising up of revolutionary forces in Iran may serve to weaken the country substantially, because it could turn into, like Romania when they rose up against whatever that Ceausescu or something, whatever the jerk's name was, fighting in the streets, people hiding behind a building because there's gunfire, that sort of thing. And cause more distress and disruption in Iran. And it appears likely that the strike on Iran can precede the invasion of the daughter of Babylon, but I'm rather sure of it. It says her enemies will destroy her. Now, it could be that Israel destroys Iran, not America, but because it says enemies plural, I believe that we should be looking at Israel, America, the UK, and possibly other countries joining in. Not just Israel. And Israel may not even be that instrumental in it, or it may. We don't have all the little fine details from Bible prophecy. We get the general picture, and that's about it. Iraq is, I don't know what they're trying to do. Stay alive and stop an invasion of Iraq, which would lead to an invasion of Iran. I'll be back in a minute. And that's about it on the news, so we'll get into the Bible stuff in a moment. All right. Let me check the live stream and the chat, and then we'll get going here. See if we got garbage to throw out. Very few people coming in today. Well, they don't want to hear the truth. Yeah, Putin did reject Trump's idea, which was basically putting 40,000 NATO troops into Ukraine, holding the border, letting Putin have the land he already took from Ukraine and stopping any further aggression. He said, no, it's just going to let Ukraine refortify and rebuild. I'm not doing it. That could change when he sits down with Trump, though. You got to bear that in mind. Jimmy Carter died. I believe he was the one that made us give the Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt. And he runs around, he spent years teaching Bible studies. Must have had a great hatred for the believers. Okay. Jeremiah 50, verse 1. The word that Jehovah spake against Babel, it's Babel, it's not Babylon. The original Babylon was Babel. The English people made up the word Babylon. Spake against Babel and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Now, this is sort of kind of like a parable, but it's not a parable. When it was written, nobody knew about America or anything like that. All right, let's keep going. Declare you among the heathen, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not, say, Babel is taken. That means captured. Bel, that's one of the demon idol images in the old Babylon, is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. Again, the same thing like Bel. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces. So, when the Chinese fight against the country, do they go around breaking the graven images? No. Do the Russians? No. Do the Americans? No. North Koreans? No. Does Islam do that? Yes. For out of the north cometh up heathen. See, they say a nation. It's the word is goyim, heathen, against her. When you say nation, you're giving it the impression that it's one country attacking another, and you see it's clearly not. So the translation is not as good as it should be. Against her, you could probably say, the best way to say it would be heathen. Against her, which shall make her land desolate, and no one shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. So people are going to be leaving. In those days and at that time, saith Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together. Going and weeping, they shall go and seek the Lord their God, Jehovah Elohim. Now, in those days, so right about that time, well, it says in that time. Let's check the word for time. Yeah, it's okay. The children of Israel is the 10 tribes, the so-called lost tribes. It's not a biblical term to say lost tribes, but people do it. And then it says the children of Judah. Those would be the known Jews that are in Judah and Levi together. Now, the 10 tribes are not in Israel now since 1948. They're not here. So let's not go off on some bad trail with that. So when the tribes wake up, it's going to be when Yeshua appears in the clouds, seated on the right hand of God the Father, seated on the right hand of power. Okay, that's not the return to earth, that's the appearing. The church confuses the two erroneously. Going and weeping. They're mourning because they were rejecting Yeshua. This is, you're talking about the Jewish people, the 12 tribes. They shall go and seek Jehovah Elohim. This would make me think there's a temple. They shall ask the way to Zion, which would be Israel. By the way, it's east from America. With their faces thitherward, their faces towards it. When the Jewish people pray, like from America, they'll face the east towards Israel. Towards Jerusalem is what they're really doing. And they shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, Come, and let us join ourselves to Jehovah in a perpetual covenant. Now, this is a mistranslation again to try to throw people off. The word is olam. It's the everlasting. It's from now off into the future, but it's not perpetual. It's a different meaning. It's incorrectly translated. Covenant that shall not be forgotten. It says my people. What it really says is people, I guess it's referencing Israel, hath been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. Now the word for astray it means to go out of the way, to go off the path. Sin. Talmud. But then there's an implication as follows. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. See, all the Jews are supposed to be living in Israel, but they're confused. And they don't even want to come. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against Jehovah, the habitation of justice, even Jehovah, the hope of their fathers. So they think it's okay to go and kill them. This is not necessarily Islam. It's like when I grew up in New York, some of the Catholic kids would want to come start fights and beat us up and call us Christ killers and things like that. It was predominantly coming from the Catholics. Italian and Irish Catholics were usually the ones. Remove out of the midst of Babel and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were the witches in old Babylon. Fortune tellers, soothsayers, stuff like that. And be as the goats before the flock. Before the flocks, plural. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babel an assembly of great, gadol, you could say, is great, goyim, heathens. You see, they keep messing with it and calling it nations. From the north country. Now, when it says north country, it's probably north land is what it's saying. It's probably referencing north of Israel, which would take us to Muslim states. And they shall set themselves in array against her, like surround her from thence. She shall be taken, captured, and their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Well, an arrow has a metallic arrowhead or made out of stone. And that's the part that pierces and kills somebody, is the arrowhead, which is a lot like a bullet. The shaft doesn't do anything to you. It guides the arrow. So you could look at a gun shooting a bullet similar to an arrow. Instead of an arrowhead, you got a bullet. And the launcher of the arrow is the bow, but with a bullet it's the gun. She shall be taken, their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. See, a bullet doesn't return in vain. I think it's talking about missiles, where it can fall and not hit its mark. Vain also means empty. In vain, so it could fall in vacant land. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced, O you destroyers of my heritage, that's Israel. Because you are growing fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. That's the whore of Babylon, which they refer to as Columbia. The great city is called District of Columbia. It's not even in any of the 50 states. its own city that runs America. Your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost, that's your Statue of Liberty, is Columbia, you know. Behold, the hindermost of the heathens, the nations are here. This is the most recent of them. God only has 70 nations. The UN has 190 something, so. Shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Jehovah it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goeth by Babel shall be astonished and hiss. That's probably whistle. Something like that, you know. At all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babel round about. So she'll be surrounded. America. That you bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Jehovah. Do we have to explain how America sins against Jehovah? You could start with the government protecting the rights of the satanic church and go downhill from there. Shout against her round about. She hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen. Given her hand means she surrenders. Her walls are thrown down. That's got to be the walls between Mexico and America. There's no walls on the Atlantic, the Pacific, or with Canada. It is the vengeance of Jehovah. Take vengeance upon her, as she hath done, do unto her. Then it goes on, cut off the sower from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest, for fear of the oppressing sword. They shall turn every one to his people, and they shall flee every one to his own land. These are the agricultural workers that are not Americans that come up there to work. They're going to get scared and run away back to their own country from the oppressing sword. So it probably means when the sleeper agents start getting active or something like that. They're predominantly Catholic, and the sleeper agents won't appreciate them too much. Infidels, you know. Israel is the scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away first. The king of Assyria hath devoured him. And last, so it's going back in history, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, hath broken his bones. Well, it's talking about the United States. In 2023, Biden didn't want Netanyahu to come to America at all. And then in early September, he pops up, yeah, Netanyahu could come here anytime he wants. 23rd of September, Netanyahu goes and visits Biden. Then October 7th happens, a little more than 2 weeks. No, about 2 weeks after. And Israel apparently let it happen because all our checks and balances against such a thing were not operating. And they're trying to get Netanyahu to have an independent investigation of this, and he won't do it. And the Supreme Court's starting to bear down on him. And what happened in October 7th was brutal. It's still going on. We still have hostages there. They're being sexually abused, tortured, starved, everything. Behold, I will punish the king of Babylon, that's whoever is holding the office of president, and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied on Mount Ephraim and Gilead. That's your West Bank. So, speaking of the next great Exodus, Ezekiel 20, starting in verse 33 to the end of the chapter, will help you understand that. As will Jeremiah 23, Jeremiah 16, 17. In those days and in that time, saith Jehovah, the lawlessness of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none, and the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. Well, this is evidenced in Zechariah 12:10, where he pours the Spirit out on Jerusalem and the house of David, and then right after that is the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, Yeshua appearing at the right hand of God the Father in the clouds. And that causes the people that are believers to have everlasting life, and the Israelites just had the Spirit poured out on them, so they will have everlasting life. Yeshua was sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He said that, didn't he? So when he appears, he's sent to appear, and their sins are gone. Go up against the land of Marathon, and they know Yeshua. They're completely changed. They shall all know me, from the least to the greatest. I will put my law in their inward part. Thou shalt have a heart of flesh. He says in another place, I'll put the law in their heart. They shall all know me, from the least to the greatest. They're not going to say, know the Lord. They all know me. Go up against the land of Marathon, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod. These are throwback names to the old Babylon. Waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Jehovah. And according to all I have commanded them. Now you're going to see here that he burns up this Babylon with fire. When the Babylonians hit Israel, they burned the temple in Jerusalem, but they were killing them. And when the Romans did it, again, they were killing them. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? That's America. And broken. How has Babylon become a desolation among the heathen? It's clearly not Israel. I have laid a snare for thee. Thou art also taken, O Babel, and thou wast not aware. And that's your sleeper agents. And the one that allowed this to happen, Biden, is the one who's executing the snare. And it would go right to the drones too. Same thing, they're tied together. He's not doing it, he's allowing it to happen unchecked. Thou wast not aware, thou art found, and also caught because thou hast striven against Jehovah. So, most of the people in America are not aware of any of this, and they'll reject it. The Lord hath opened his armory. So the modern day weapons are not his armory typically, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. Oh, he can raise armies up. He did do that. He raised armies up again. For this is the work of the Lord's, of the Adonai Jehovah of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast up as heaps, and destroy her utterly, and nothing of her be left. Slay all her bullocks, and that would probably be their police agents, military. Let them go down to this. It's not talking about animals. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. That's bad. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babel, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Jehovah Elohim, the vengeance of his temple. See, this doesn't work with going back to the Babylonians attacking the temple or the Romans attacking the temple. Why? The voice of them that flee out of the land of Babylon to declare in Zion, which is Israel, the vengeance of the Lord our God, the vengeance of his temple. Guys, there would be no reason to declare these things in Israel because they were done in Israel. The Babylonians did it in Israel. And the Romans did it in Israel. So there would be no reason to go tell the Israelites about the vengeance. The Babylonians were not, vengeance wasn't taken on them in Israel. Nor did the Romans get it in Israel. What they're telling Zion about is the vengeance of the Lord on them. It doesn't seem to lend itself very well to the Babylon days, or because they went to captivity voluntarily. The Lord told them to. The ones that didn't go got destroyed in Israel some years later. And when the time came, they were led back to Israel. Temple artifacts and all. With letters of safe passage, soldiers accompanying them, gold, and everything else. To declare in Zion the vengeance of Jehovah Elohim, the vengeance of his temple. So it could be that he's taking it out on America, the daughter of Babylon, for what Babylon did to the temple, which was burn it to get all the gold plating off and take the temple artifacts out. But it could also be what happens in this next temple, which will be here very shortly. Call together the archers against Babylon, all you that bend the bow. Camp against it round about, let none there escape. So they're going to box America's in at some point. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done. Do unto her, for she hath been proud against Jehovah, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off. The whole military is gone. In that day, it's a day, saith Jehovah. Behold, now this is not Gog and Magog, okay? Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith Jehovah Elohim. Saith Adonai Jehovah, sorry. Of hosts. Hosts means armies. Armies of angels is what I believe it's referencing here. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall. And none shall raise him up, and I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around about him. Jehovah's going to burn them up like Sodom and Gomorrah. Fire and brimstone came down, burned the place up. Fire's going to come down and burn the place up. Verse 33, thus saith Jehovah of armies, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Well, when he's talking about them getting taken captive together, he's talking about the old days, because they're not yet together yet. Their Redeemer is strong, Jehovah of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land, that's the land of Israel, and disquiet the inhabitants of Babel. Disquiet means trembling. They'll be so scared, they'll be trembling. All right, so now I'm in Israel gets rest, and the inhabitants of Babylon are all messed up. A sword, verse 35, Jeremiah 50:35. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith Jehovah, and upon the inhabitants of Babel, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people. The mingled people. America's the melting pot. You got it, mingled people that are in the midst of it. The Catholic Church, the Vatican, 300 people at most live in the Vatican. There's no Jews there. There's no lost tribes there. They're all Catholic. In Mecca and Medina, the other candidates for daughter of Babylon, according to the church world, they're all Muslims there. Come on. They shall, a sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon the mingled people that are in the midst of her. They shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Jehovah, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. Well, the north would point to Canada or Alaska, which is part of the United States, so. And many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance, and they shall be cruel. That brings us to Islam. And remember what they did to us, and they're still doing to the hostages. And will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, everyone in array, everyone put in array, like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babel. The king of Babel hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. That would be the president of the United States. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. Behold, now it could be a new dictator or something that promptly pops up, but I'm not planning on it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong, but I will make them suddenly run away from him. It appears this is American troops in Israel. Swelling of the Jordan is where the Jordan River meets the Sea of Galilee, right in that area. I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me. Well, you could say it's Yeshua, you could say it's the two witnesses, Apostle John and Elijah. It's probably one of the two witnesses, or because Yeshua's not actually returning to earth, so it's got a little contextual issue there. Therefore, hear you the counsel of Jehovah that he hath taken against Babel, and his purpose that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans, the witches. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. The least of the flock are the poor, simple people that he uses. At the noise of the taking of Babel, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the heathen. Remember, we heard about these earthquake bombs that were registering a 3 on the Richter scale. I was hearing and feeling them in Israel. Okay, it's probably something like that. Do I think they mean nukes? No, probably something like that. After the noise of the taking of Babel, the earth is moved. Let's check the word for moved. It's like quaked. It could mean make afraid, actually. Tremble, make afraid. It might be a better fit. The word for cry is probably cry and scream out, I guess. I'm reading your questions, but they're so off topic, I can't go jump around asking, dealing with questions like that. I'm trying to do a Bible study. If you have questions somewhat related to the Bible, go ahead. But you're just trying to throw me off track. Okay. So now we go to Jeremiah 51. Thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will raise up against Babel and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind, and will send unto Babel fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. Now, fanner separates the wheat from the chaff, from the wheat from the tares or the garbage. The garbage is burned up and the wheat gets gathered into the barn. So the fanners are going to loot and pillage the place. Empty her land in the day of trouble. See, it's a day that this starts. They shall be against her round about, surrounding her. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare you not her young men, destroy you utterly all her host, all her army. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. Thrust through is pierced. If you shoot somebody with a bullet, they're pierced, just like with an arrow or a sword. Pierced. Hang on a minute. Somebody's going to be coming to work on our electricity. We had a problem last night. I have a little heater in my bathroom, and it had a pull cord that was hang on a second, it pulled out and I couldn't turn it off. So I called the fellow that works on our house for us, and I told him what happened, and could he come in the morning, and instead he raced over here and said, no, you can't sleep with that on, you can get a fire or something like that. So he disconnected it last night. Now he has to come back and connect it. Destroy utterly all her hosts. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of Jehovah of armies, though their land filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. See, he closed their eyes and stopped up their ears, lest they turn to him and be healed. So the 2,000-year punishment in Hosea 6:1-2 would be fulfilled. But time's up. Flee out of the midst of Babel and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her lawlessness, for this is the time of Jehovah's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. That brings us the year of recompenses now, right? But we're coming to the close of recompenses. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made the earth, the land, really drunken. The heathen have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the heathen, the nations are mad. They're all following America. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. It's going to happen suddenly, right there in Revelation 17, in a day, in an hour, boom, suddenly. It's going to happen suddenly and destroyed. For howl for her, that's like mourning. Take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. They may try to fix her. We would have healed Babel, but she is not healed. For that would be get her to give glory to Jehovah and repent, possibly, right? They won't do that. They're dedicated with Satan. But she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, every man, into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. So I imagine you're going to see the missiles, the clouds of smoke from the missiles, and the clouds of smoke from the fire, all the way up in the sky. Jehovah hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Jehovah Elohim. So they're leaving America on the next great exodus. The true believers that are part of Israel and the Israelites that have been forgiven of their sins and they have the everlasting life. from seeing Yeshua, of course the Spirit would have been poured out on him previously, just like Zechariah 12:10, I believe. And they're coming to Israel and they're going to tell the people in Israel what happened in America. So that would mean there's no internet or telephones, wouldn't it? Because the people in America, in Israel, see everything on the news with America, so there wouldn't be any media or internet or phones or sat phones or whatever. Make bright the arrows, now that's like a missile, make it bright, right? The arrows, what kind of arrows would be made bright? A fire arrow? It doesn't need to test that closely. Gather the shields, the Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes from the Median Empire, the spirit of them. For his devices against Babel to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Jehovah, the vengeance of his temple. So it could be a throwback to the old days, but it's not that likely, because Babylon had their punishment, Rome had their punishment. The temple in Malachi 3, they do something wrong with the temple, and God's fixing their wagon to that. See, God's giving them all the chances to do all their evil and all their wickedness, so the fullness of the punishment will come on them justly. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babel, make the watchmen strong. They're watching down there at the border, aren't they? The militias and stuff. The state of Texas authorities. Set up the watchmen, prepare the ambush, for Jehovah hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babel. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, Atlantic, Pacific, Gulf of Mexico, Great Lakes, 8,000 rivers, probably as many lakes, okay? There's no water in the Vatican, there's no water in Mecca, there's no water in Medina, and it's not Israel, because how do they come out of Israel to tell the people in Israel what happened if it happened in Israel? Makes no sense. Jehovah of hosts had sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill... Is it raining? No. It might be. Hold on a minute. I gotta make sure it's not raining. I'm gonna double check. I'll be right back. I don't think it is. it's not raining, I'll keep them out there. So it might start raining and they'll be cooped up the rest of the day, and I hate that. All right. So I'm in Jeremiah 51:14. Jehovah of armies had sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. Fill thee with men like caterpillars. Those are your sleeper agents. Even Trump admitted there can be 30 million. 60 to 70% are sleeper agents. That's 18 million. There's your caterpillars. They're already there. They shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched the heavens by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens. That's on the other side of the firmament. It's water. You can forget about all this space travel and all that. It's water. It's not a vacuum. And he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightning with rain. So you could forget harp and cern. God does it, not harp and cern. And bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the grave. A founder is somebody that's working with metals, like making statues, right? Is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They can't walk, they can't breathe, they don't go to the bathroom, they don't eat, they don't drink, they don't do nothing. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. The portion of Jacob, that's the 12 tribes of Israel, because his kids were the names of the 12 tribes, is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Jehovah of hosts is his name. The rod could be the branch, okay, of his inheritance. Now he's talking of Israel. Thou art my battle axe. We're going to be fighting. I keep telling you that, and it's God's will, because it's in the word and it's in the prophecy. Thou art my battle axe and weapon of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the heathen, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. Have we broken pieces Gaza, Hezbollah? To a great extent, we busted up Syria by blowing up all the weapons. Okay. And the West Bank to a lesser extent. And with thee will I break in pieces the horses and his rider, the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider, and with thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. With thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. That is your targeted assassinations, the captains and the rulers that we did to Iran, we did to Gaza, Hamas, PIJ, we did it to Hezbollah. You got it? That's your targeted assassinations. And I will render unto Babel and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith Jehovah. This is October 7th. And it put us into war with the goal of cleaning out Iran and their proxies. And we're the ones paying the price for it. All their evil that have done in Zion in your sight, saith Jehovah. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Jehovah, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. A burnt mountain means it's a dead mountain. It's nothing going on there. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith Jehovah. Set you up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet in, a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations, the heathen nations, against her, against America. Call together against her the kingdoms of Harat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. These are the stand countries that are allied with Russia. Appoint a captain against her. So there's going to be a leader of the attack on America. I'm not sure who it is. It'll be a man. Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations, the heathen nations, with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and of all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. There's a lot coming at America. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of Jehovah shall be performed against Babel, to make the land of Babel a desolation without an inhabitant. This is going to be a testimony to what happens when you go against Jehovah. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. Okay, this is probably going to include the patriots, the survivalists, the gun people, the militia. They're going to be so scared they're not going to fight. They have remained in their holds. That's probably their bug out locations. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. They're never going to rescue America. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon, which would be the president, that his city is taken at one end. That's Revelation 17, basically. And they don't have any electronic communications, do they? They got runners. And the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. For thus saith Jehovah of armies, Elohim Yisrael, the God of Israel. It never says he's the God of the church world, the churches. The daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. And the harvest, the tares are burned up. That's the threshing floor. The crop is burned up. And the wheat, the good stuff, is gathered into the barn, which is Israel, which is the next great Exodus. Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babel, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He has swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babel, shall the inhabitants of Zion, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. They may do a lot more bad stuff in the temple than we think. They may actually take the temple artifacts out. America. Therefore thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will plead thy cause, and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea, and make her springs dry, and Babel shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment and a hissing without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feasts, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake up, saith the Lord. So apparently they're having a feast, they're celebrating something. Maybe they're celebrating Trump as president. Maybe they're celebrating the destruction of Iran and the destruction of Russia. I don't know. I will bring them down like lambs. And then after that, celebrating, say, destroying Iran and Russia, then the attack hits them while they're drunk. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Sheshach taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth? That's one of the, Sheshach, one of the throwbacks to the old Babylon demon stuff. I think it's a geographical location, though, in the old Babylon. How is the praise of the whole earth? That's clearly America. Surprised. How has Babel become an astonishment among the nations, the heathen nations? The sea has come up upon Babel. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. This, I believe, puts the fires out, so the animals can dwell there in the houses and on the mountains and so forth. Her cities are desolate, a dry land and a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass whereby. And I will punish Bel in Babel, the demon Bel, I guess, the graven image, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. Now, that could be believers. I don't know what that is. It could be going back through time, many, many centuries. And the nations shall not flow together anymore unto him. How do they flow? In the UN, which is in New York, all the nations meet there. Yea, the wall of Babel shall fall. That's the wall between Mexico and America, is the Northern Wall. My people, go you out of the midst of her, and deliver you every man his soul from the fierce anger of Jehovah. Well, you're going to be leaving. The electric work is here, so I'm going to wrap it up. Unless your heart faint, and you fear the rumor that shall be heard in the land, a rumor shall come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. We haven't seen the ruler and rule against ruler yet, but we could be seeing something, a showdown between Biden and Trump, and not letting them get elected or put into office. I don't know yet. We'll have to watch. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babel, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babel, for the spoilers shall come unto her from the north, saith Jehovah. And the heavens are singing. They're glad that this country is gone. So whose side are you on? Heaven's side or Satan's side? As Babel hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babel shall fall the slain of all the earth. So something's going to happen here in Israel. Well, they've already caused the slain since October 7th to fall, holding back weapons, telling Netanyahu to, drag out the attacks, don't do this, don't do that, give humanitarian aid, all that stuff. You that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember Jehovah afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. So we're at the 30th of December, and I'm going to give you true believers a phraseology that the Jews use, because next year it's in 2 days, right? Okay, so I say this to you, true believers in Yeshua HaMashiach. Next year in Jerusalem. 2 days now, and we're in next year. It may be more than 2 days. Remember Jehovah afar off, and let Jerusalem come into mind. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Imagine living there and you could see the temple from your room or your house, and you could walk to the temple, get a falafel, get a shawarma, get other good food, hang around old streets in old Jerusalem that are thousands of years old. Come on, get pumped up. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuary of the Lord's house. Well, this could be America walking around inside the temple that comes down from heaven. See, he lets their lawlessness go to the fullness, and then he drops on them. And the punishment that comes on him is death, so it's pretty serious. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and though all her land throughout through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babel should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith Jehovah. A sound of a cry cometh from Babel, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, because Jehovah hath spoiled Babel and destroyed out of her the great voice, when her waves do roar like great waters. The noise of their voice is uttered, because the spoiler is come, the looter, the plunderer is come unto her, the one getting the booty, the treasures, even upon Babel, and her mighty men are taken, every one of their bows is broken, for Jehovah Elohim, before the Lord God, Jehovah Elohim of recompense is here, of recompense, shall surely requite, payback. And I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains and her rulers and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, saith the King, whose name is Jehovah of armies. I think this is they're celebrating some victory or something. Could be Trump's in office. They got rid of Iran. They got rid of Russia. They got rid of North Korea. Who knows? But they're celebrating something, and they don't like. That's when they're going to get it. Remember, we've talked about this. The sleeper agents could be a retaliation, not so much a preventive, but after they do something really bad, America does something really bad, they wipe them out. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, the broad walls of Babel, that can mean the long walls, the Mexican border wall, shall be broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. The people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. Well, he's going to kindle fires in and about their cities. What are they going to do, take their guns and shoot the fire? The word, or throw that survival powdered food on it. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Seraiah the son of Neriah and the son of Messiah, when he went to Zedekiah the king of Judah and Babylon in the 4th year of the reign. And this Seraiah was a quiet prince. So Jeremiah wrote in a book, all the evil that should come upon Babel, even all these words that are written against Babel. And Jeremiah said to Seraiah, when thou comest to Babel, and shall see and shall read all these words, then shalt thou say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, and none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever. And it shall be, when thou hast made an end of reading this book, that thou shalt bind a stone to it and cast it in the midst of the Euphrates, and thou shalt say, thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus are the words of the Lord. When the bad Babylonians, the king of Babylon went bad, the Israelites were treated good, but then towards the end they weren't. So then the Lord had Cyrus come and destroy the Babylonians, and that's who sent the Israelites back to Israel with the temple artifacts, money, and safe passage. It was Cyrus, not. It wasn't the Babylonians. Okay, well, got a little bit more insights in there, and the more we study it, the more we seem to learn. So that's what I've got for today. And when you read Revelation 17, we learn more things about it. It happens in an hour and a day, and it's Washington, D.C. that gets hit first, and it's probably missiles. And they could come from planes, submarines, or from inside America. And it's going to come suddenly and jarringly, okay? And I keep thinking when we see the peace come to Israel, in other words, right now the one that's really interrupting the peace is not Hezbollah at all. It's not Syria at all. It's not Iraq at all. It's not Iran at all. Gaza a little bit, that will probably quash it down in the next few days. It's Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen. Because I don't think God's going to bring the temple here and have Elijah start working if missiles, drones, rockets, and stuff are coming in. So I think there'll be a peace. We'll have the temple, and I think America and other countries will violate the temple to show that their God reigns. And I think Elijah will likely be standing down and not burning them up. And they'll go inside the temple. The glory of God won't be there. And then will come maybe that's the final straw for America, and boom, she gets it. And then when America's gone, the nations, the bad ones that are left in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, whatever, Yemen, where they'll surround Israel in the siege in Zechariah 12. And then Elijah and Apostle John just burn them up, because by then the Levites have been trained and they're making the offerings acceptable to the Lord. So the blessings of the Lord come upon us, and Elijah and Apostle John wipe out the enemy's force without a single casualty. Nobody gets a sprained ankle. Nobody breaks a fingernail. And then we're off. Since you're the only ones that I know of that are running around with the true gospel, I have a real strong feeling you have a role in this, but it's not been precisely revealed yet. So, it's all good. Waiting isn't the best fun, but it builds faith. But we just gotta wait. There's no choice. And it'll come, it all comes. And you'll just be real happy. It'll be quite a few decades before the great falling away. For some of you, it'll be more years than you've been alive. You'll have children, you'll watch them grow, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, you'll watch them grow. You'll have a good time. You'll have to learn all about eating falafel and pita bread, but that'll be fun. And you'll basically be extremely wealthy and happy, great health, young again. You know, what's not to like? It's all good. And then after the falling away will be a little bit ugly, but we'll have the two witnesses in the glory of God of Israel. And when that's over, Yeshua returns, and then we go into New Jerusalem. And then it gets better. That's another phase we go through. It's even better. There's no death in there, but we don't have the spiritual body yet. And then Satan gets released and gathers them together, and then we have that probably takes more than an hour. It's probably a number of years, I'm thinking. And then comes the end of them in the universe, and then we wind up in the final phase in heaven as spiritual entities with Jehovah, as sons of God in heaven, spiritual. And then from there, Jehovah will have many new wonderful experiences for us, and great pleasure probably. And you can't imagine how good it is. Not in your human body. You can bang your head against the wall trying to, but you're never going to get it. Things may be revealed to us in New Jerusalem about this, I expect. And after redemption or during redemption, I imagine things about New Jerusalem will be revealed to us. And we'll have a Bible study with Apostle John with the 7 Sundays. That'll be a heck of a Bible study, won't it? He knows what they are. And he'll be happy to share as long as Jehovah gives us the green light. And it'll be good. And you'll have a lot of fun. So it's not much longer, believe me. It's just not. Don't go off on that. It's not that much longer. It's not that much longer. Remember, America gets blasted in a day, in an hour. Suddenly, things are starting in Syria 11 days. Things are starting to go much, much faster. So be encouraged. All right. How long was I today? Oh, not 2 hours. More than an hour and a half, though. So I send my shalom. Well, please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for our healing. Pray for our finances. We could use some work there on the finances. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray I don't have to get into any of these court witnessing entanglements. I don't believe in the straightness of the courts. I'd rather not have anything to do with it. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thanks.